Was Tyreek Hill the victim of police brutality? How many weeks will #1 fantasy pickup Christian McCaffrey miss this season for the 49ers? Is Aaron Rodgers washed? We'll ponder all these things and even more today on Ballpark Figures. Hello ladies and gents, welcome to Ballpark Figures, your end zone experts exchange. I'm your trusted neighbor Abe and we're going to get right into it. Tyreek Hill, on his way to the first game of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars, got pulled over, put in handcuffs, and nearly arrested this past Sunday. Take a look.
They're speeding! Move forward.
Knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Knock on my window like that, though.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? Here. Now we can lower it and talk to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it down. Keep your window down. Keep your window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Give me that.
Get out of the car.
Give me that. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Damn. What part of blood are you doing this time? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, dude. I'm getting arrested. Y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for. Damn, y'all, bro. Hey.
Have a seat.
I'm finna.
No, you're doing it now. Go.
Hold on, twin. Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery in your ears when we chill, bro.
His teammates were even in on the action.
Chill, bro. Hey, Joe New, bro. Back up. Back off
right now. Back off right now.
Leave. Nope, too late. I told you, leave.
All I have to say is the cop was asking him to get out of the car. Does he know how fast Tyreek is on foot, even with a bum knee? The cheetah is probably faster on foot than he is behind the wheel of a sports car. Later on that day, Tyreek had partial retribution by celebrating in the end zone to commemorate the whole ordeal. Time for the Week 1 recap. The picks I gave you guys last week were nearly flawless. Starting off with the first game of the season last Thursday, Chiefs versus Ravens. Just like I told you guys, Pat Mahomes, he was walking in confident in the Arrowhead. He won the game. It was a close game, back and forth. Lamar Jackson was connecting a lot with Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews didn't have a very big game. The Chiefs had what it took to pull ahead. Packers and Eagles, the international game that saw Jordan Love fall and get injured from what I've heard, 3 to 6 weeks. Just like I told you guys, the Eagles were playing with a chip on their shoulder. They had to win this game. They did not want to go back to Philly empty-handed on Week 1. Packers put up a strong fight and looked amazing, but the Eagles won. The Eagles pulled out just like I said they would. Panthers Saints, just like I told you, the Panthers are a complete dumpster fire this season. Just like I told you last week, they may not win any games whatsoever. 0-17. Saints easily beat them 47-10. Little man Bryce Young looked horrible throwing an interception in the very first play of his drive to start the season off. I don't think the Saints are really that good. I think the Panthers are just that bad. Moving on. Vikings versus Giants, another one-sided game. Just like I told you guys last week, the Giants are very similar to the Panthers in being a complete train wreck, dumpster fire team. They looked horrible. Why would you give Daniel Jones so much money and not give the money to Saquon? I know Saquon was an injury risk, but look what you got now. Just like I said it would be, Vikings for the win. Patriots and Bengals. This was a game that really surprised me. The Patriots coming out, first game without Belichick. Ramondre Stevenson, who's normally a snooze fest, put up a big game, and they walked away victorious against Joe Burrow's Bengals. I love Joe Burrow, I love Jamari Chase, and it's a good team, but that's one of those teams that everybody always thinks is a Super Bowl hopeful, and they always fall apart, and they lose games against mediocre teams that they should never lose. But I'm not going to take it away from the Patriots. New England won. Giving me my first L of this season as far as my picks are concerned. Steelers and Falcons. I thought the Falcons had a chance. I knew this game was going to be a toss-up. Steelers were victorious. TJ Watt and the defense completely took over the game at one point. And it was enough to put Steelers ahead. Steelers won. Kirk Cousins didn't really look amazing in his opening game as a Falcon. We'll see what happens moving forward. Texans and Colts. And I told you guys this was going to be an exciting game. CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson. And just like I told you, CJ Stroud and the Texans came up victorious. CJ didn't put up as big as numbers as I would have hoped, him being my fantasy quarterback, but it was sufficient. And they beat Anthony Richardson, and the Colts looked amazing as well. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in their division. Cardinals and Bills. I almost lost this game because of course I picked the Bills. But the Cardinals put up a show in the first half. But as good as Kyler looked in the first half, that's how bad he looked in the second half. He completely folded in the second half. They had a chance to be up by 3 touchdowns at one point. Bills were victorious just like I said they would be. It wasn't quite as pretty as I thought it was going to be, but they pulled home the win. Titans and Bears. I told you guys the Bears would win, but I thought Caleb was going to look a lot better. Caleb Williams. He did not look good whatsoever. At one point they were down by 16, 17 points, and they came back to a 24-17 with no offensive touchdowns. How rare is that? Either way, just like I told you guys, Chicago came through with the win. Jaguars and Dolphins, the battle for Florida. Just like I told you guys, Miami won, but Jacksonville could have easily won this game. They were completely controlling the game early on. And, you know, a fumble from ETN completely shifted the momentum. But just like I said, Miami for the win. Broncos versus Seahawks. Again, just like I told you, Seahawks won. The rookie captain quarterback Bo Nix and company have a whole lot of work to do in Denver. Raiders and Chargers, another correct prediction from yours truly. Raiders, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, they're going to have a bad season. I'm going to go ahead and call that. Raiders are very, very lackluster. And the Chargers are as well, but again, the Raiders, they just are not going to be able to do anything this year. Chargers for the win, just like I told you guys. Cowboys and Browns, another accurate prediction of mine. But really, Ray Charles could have seen this coming. The Browns and Deshaun Watson are not looking good. Deshaun's got too much stuff going on off the field, and he's got new allegations coming in. Cowboys look good. I didn't really get to see what my guy CeeDee Lamb and my fantasy team really can do because they started to ice the game with the run play the second half of the game. Dallas, just like I told you guys, once again, victorious. Commanders and Buccaneers, another accurate prediction. Just like I told you guys, the Buccaneers walked in and they handled business. Tampa Bay Bucks for the win. Rams and Lions, probably the best game of the week. Just like I told you guys, I had to pick the Lions, and they ended up coming up victorious in overtime from my guy David Montgomery on my fantasy team. Amazing run at the end of the game. The fourth quarter seemed like it was all Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. But they ended up taking it to overtime, and just like I told you guys, Lions victorious. Finally, the Jets versus the 49ers. Again, I told you so. The 49ers were victorious without Christian McCaffrey. Jordan Mason is suddenly the best running back in the game. Aaron Rodgers, he looked really, really strong. He looked good. He looked clean. At the end of the day, they were no match for the 49ers. Probably the best team in the NFL. Now it's time for my week 2 picks. In the comments, let me know if they match your picks. I just wished I could have somewhere close to the amount of success I had in week 1. Picking 15 of 17 games correctly. You heard that right. Go ahead and rewatch last week's video. Bills versus Dolphins, divisional matchup. We get to see Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle go against Jared Allen and company. This is a very, very tough one. I'm going to have to say the Buffalo Bills. 49ers versus Vikings. This is going to be exciting to see because we get to see Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold go against one of the top defenses. Top wide receiver, top defense. Again, I'm going to say 49ers victorious. Seahawks versus Patriots. Both teams are coming off of big wins, especially the Patriots. That was just, I mean, I feel like if the Patriots were able to handle the Bengals last week, they should be able to handle the Seahawks this week. New England, non-Belichick for the win. Giants versus Commanders. We get to see the NFC East showdown. I'm going to have to go with the Commanders. I think that they will beat the Giants. The Giants looked completely horrible last week. But as you know, anything can happen in a divisional game. Commanders for the win. Chargers versus Panthers. You already know how I feel about 2020's Panthers. I gotta go with the Chargers on this. I think Justin Herbert and company will handle the Panthers very easily. The train wreck of the NFL. Saints versus Cowboys. This should be a high-scoring game on both sides. I think Dallas is going to win. Saints, I don't feel like they're really that great of a team. I'm not sold on them yet, even though they completely demolished the Panthers last week. Dallas, of course, they're in that mode of the season where momentum's starting to pick up and fans are starting to talk about, SB, Super Bowl. So we'll see. Dallas for the win. Colts versus Packers. Jordan Love will not be playing in this game, of course. He's down for the next 3 to 6 weeks. I was really looking forward to seeing Anthony Richardson go against Jordan Love, but sadly we will not see that. That being said, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts for the win. Browns versus Jaguars. The Browns were a complete disgrace last week. Jaguars looked great the first half of the game, but they completely let it go against Miami. I gotta say, Jacksonville Jaguars, they will not do this 2 weeks in a row. Jets versus Titans. Titans did not look good last week. That quarterback of theirs, Will Levis, I thought he was great last year. He did not look confident whatsoever last week against the Chicago Bears. Aaron Rodgers, he had some moments last week where he did look really good. He did look like the Aaron Rodgers that we missed. So I am going to take the New York Jets. Buccaneers versus Lions. I think this is going to be a very exciting game to get to see Baker and Mike Evans go against all the boys in Detroit. At the end of the day, I respect Baker's style of play, but I'm going to have to go with Detroit. Raiders versus Ravens. You got one of the worst teams in the league going against one of the best. Easy answer, Ravens. Rams versus Cardinals. This is going to be a great divisional matchup. The Cardinals may surprise you, but I have to go with my gut here, and I gotta say LA Rams for the win. Bengals versus Chiefs. We get to see Burrow versus Mahomes, the game that tons of us football fans look forward to every season. I do think Mahomes is going to be victorious once again. Kansas City Chiefs. And finally, Falcons versus Eagles. This is going to be pretty fun to watch. We get a lot of young talent. Eagles will be victorious. They're a much better team than the Falcons, but Falcons have a lot of tools at their disposal with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and the list goes on and on, Kyle Pitts. And of course, they gave that big money to Kirk Cousins. It's time for him to produce. But I think Eagles will be victorious. Eagles will go 2-0. Jalen Hurts will be moving on to week 3 undefeated. Now it's time for me to let you know how my first week of fantasy football went. Starting off with my quarterback, C.J. Stroud of the Texans. He did not blow my mind, but he did okay. He did simply okay. He got me 22 points. My guy, David Montgomery at running back, he did slightly better than I thought he would for the Lions. He had an amazing, very exciting finish to the game in overtime, winning the game in overtime with a long run. He got me 19 points. Isaiah Pacheco, another 18 points. It was sufficient. I really need one of my guys to break through with a huge game. CeeDee Lamb wasn't turning any heads neither, only 13 points. And Dallas, they focused heavily on running after they took complete control of the game against Cleveland very early, so they didn't utilize CeeDee late in the game. My guy George Pickens from the Steelers, he was sufficient. Only 14 points, not amazing, but okay. I mean, my team still scored over 100 points, but I was not blown away. I'm hoping week 2 is a little bit better for me. Very discouraging week from Sam Laporta, only 8 points. I guess that's not that bad for a tight end, but come on, Sam. Week 2, let's go. Now, I did have one overperformer this week. My kicker, Brandon Aubrey of the Cowboys, had me 23 points from a kicker. That's pretty strong. Let's go, Brandon. And finally, my defense, the San Francisco 49ers. They did... I need him to do a whole lot better next week against the Vikings, but they can't do that much better than that against the Jets. You really think they're going to keep Justin Jefferson out the end zone? I'm getting a little nervous, but we'll see how it goes next week. Now finally, to end the show, once again, I will let you know what grinds my gears about the Carolina Panthers. What grinds my gears today about the Carolina Panthers was completely dismantling our defense during the offseason. Just to have slightly marginally better weapons for Bryce Young. So sad. We got rid of Chin, Burns, and many, many others. Now we're losing 47-10. Great job, Tepper. Now that ends our time today for Ballpark Figures. Thanks again for joining me. Now some words of wisdom from Tyreek Hill.
Brother, I want to be an officer one day. I respect all y'all. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, we're going to get Tyreek real quick.